All right, I see a few folks are still trickling in, but I want to get started soon in the interest of time here. So welcome. Thanks for joining us all today for our live Samsara product training session. My name is Eleanor Horowitz. I'm a product marketing manager for cameras and safety here at Samsara, and I'm joined by a team here today, but want to introduce you also to Margaret Finch, who will be hosting our live demo. She's the product manager for driver coaching, so we're lucky to have her here with us.
Thanks, Eleanor. Hi, everyone.
So we're going to walk you through our new driver coaching tools today. So quick agenda of what we'll cover in the next 30 minutes or so. My goal is really to make sure that, oh, sorry, looks like my screen isn't moving here, but now you can see it. So my goal is to make sure you really understand our new driver coaching tools and also really to hopefully spark some excitement and interest that you want to go check something out. Maybe you'll learn a few new tricks of how to use our platform. So we'll do a quick overview, then dive into why does driver coaching matter, and then switch over to our live demo. And throughout this session, feel free to submit any questions you might have. If you're new to GoToWebinar, you should be able to see that in the top right corner of your screen. There's a little question dialog box. So type those in. We have some folks monitoring it in the room today. So we'll either respond as we go or we'll save those and answer them live at the end of the session. If we don't get to anything or you don't hear an answer to your question, have no fear, we'll reach out after. So everyone on the line today is a customer. You're using Samsara in some capacity. You might have chosen us because of ELD or even trailer tracking or temperature monitoring, but today we're really going to focus on our video-based safety features, which are powered by our dash cams. So just sort of to set the stage here a bit, and thinking about safety, I want you all to take a second to think about your own fleet safety program. And I'm curious what your top safety concerns are. So when we talk to our customers, one of the top things we hear, of course, is that a concern is that you want to keep your drivers safe. They're your employees. Your goal is to get them home safely day in and day out. That's definitely a no-brainer, top of mind. Something else we hear is that you want to be able to respond quickly to incidents. So sometimes when an incident happens, it's not preventable, and you just want to make sure you're able to respond as quickly as possible. A third thing you often are thinking about is how do you lower costs? We know safety can be a top driver of costs, whether it's insurance premiums, legal battles, or just damages due to incidents themselves. So how do you really control those levers? Another we hear is you want to be able to exonerate drivers from blame. So sometimes your driver actually did everything right, but I would say from speaking to customers, 100% of those we speak to have had an incident where their driver is blamed for something and they weren't actually at fault. So do you have a way of really protecting your drivers? And what else do you think about when you're thinking about safety day in and day out? You're thinking about your safety team, your safety managers. The thing that we hear top coming up again and again is also improving driver performance. That is what is really linked to all of these safety issues at the end of the day. So with Samsara, we really want to address all of these concerns. And this idea of improving driver performance is our newest issue we're tackling with our driver coaching tools. So why are we doing it? Why do we think about driver performance? Because safe driving really is a learned behavior. So studies show that it's true. You see some of these stats up here. A Gallup study showed that companies with engaged employees have 48% fewer safety incidents. So we really have a program that gets employees involved. Another study showed here that by implementing behavior-based safety programs, you can reduce injuries by 59%. So the data out there is proving that if you have a coaching program, if you really put your drivers first, you can improve safety. And our customers are telling us that too. So this is Alan Drazen. He's the VP of Safety over at Simco Logistics. They're an ice cream distributor outside of Philadelphia. And what he told us is that when you interact with drivers and coach them right away, it really makes a big difference. He said now our drivers aren't having as many harsh events and we're seeing a big improvement. So this just goes to show that we see the impact of coaching, and we know that coaching really matters, but how do you streamline it? What we've seen in the past, sort of this old world, is that driver coaching can be a pretty manual task. This is an actual printed out driver event review report for a supervisor. These are some digital versions. Driver coaching can rely on pen and paper. In the past, it's been pretty anecdotal. You might not have the data to actually see what happened in the incident. So you're relying on a driver's perspective, or maybe even you're relying on the police perspective or someone who's accused you of something. So it was sort of this old world, very manual, very he said, she said. What we're excited about today is that with our new driver coaching features, you can do a lot of that coaching within the platform. So first and foremost, we're taking away the he said, she said, because you actually have footage from incidents. And with Samsara, you're able to identify those coachable events. So of course, not all events are coachable. Some events are actually the driver has done something right, so you might want to coach them to celebrate them. Some are not preventable incidents, so maybe there's nothing for the driver to learn per se, but we let you really flag what are the ones you want to coach your drivers on. After that, you want to be able to make sure there's a streamlined way to actually do that coaching. So we let you assign a safety manager, make sure you have a streamlined way of doing that. Then, of course, you can coach the drivers. So we give you a lot of easy data at your fingertips, from speed data to incident graphs, to footage, to coaching scripts, to do that all in the platform. And then you can even see this in the screenshot on the left. You can really track those results over time. So you can see whether or not your harsh event rates are going up or down. You can see how speeding is improving over time. So that's pretty powerful in this new world. We're taking away the pen and paper. We're making it more efficient. We're cleaning out your file cabinets, making that a more easy, seamless process for you. And this is a picture of actually one of our customers, Dorn, and their safety manager coaching a driver, bringing them in for that one-on-one conversation. It can still be in person. We're not taking away all the human touch and human elements of it, but we're just making sure that all the data is there and easy to access. You can see they're viewing that piece of footage together, and the driver's really able to digest that information. So that's a quick overview of what we'll talk about. Just want to clarify, all of our driver coaching tools are compatible with all of our dash cams. So whether or not you have our newest dash cameras on the right, the CM31 and 32, or you have some of our older models, any of the video that we're capturing is going to be able to feed into our coaching tools, and it's available at no extra cost. So long as you have these dash cams, you'll be able to access the power of all of our coaching tools. And with that, I will swap us over to a live demo with Margaret, where she'll walk us through some of those new features.
Great, thanks, Eleanor. All right, we're just switching over here. Okay, so as Eleanor mentioned, I'm the product manager for the driver coaching tools. So wanted to start with where you all probably start your days as people interested in safety, which is the safety inbox. You may have noticed that over the last couple months, there's been a bit of a rearrangement of some of the folders on the safety inbox. So wanted to start with kind of doing a normal event review and showing you our new tools that we've recently launched. So if I go ahead and click into an event, now you'll know that these are 20-second clips of harsh events that have been uploaded to the Samsara dashboard. And here you'll be able to view your 20-second clip. As you're viewing the clip, we advise that you look and study the video for things that you might want to annotate to coach the driver on. So for example, the Samsara dash cam is going to pick up the harsh braking, the harsh turning, harsh acceleration, crashes, and now rolling stops. But there's a lot of other things that can go on in these videos. So a first step after you review a video is actually to go down here and click Add next to the event label and annotate the video with additional labels. The reason this is important is because our coaching tools are directly tied to the labels that you add to the video. When you add a label such as no seatbelt, we will be able to provide you with talk tracks for those labels, as well as track over time whether or not the driver is improving on these behaviors. So definitely advise you to start using the labels. We have a category for driver risk, a category for road risk, category for following distance, and then an other category. So very robust list set here, and you can add as many as you like. And this is going to help you have much more rich coaching conversations.
So Margaret, a question that's coming in here is which of these tags are going to be automatic? Which will Samsara tag for you versus which can you add as the coach yourself?
That's a great question. So the ones that are going to be automatic are the harsh driving events. So that's harsh brake, harsh turn, harsh acceleration, and crash. With our new CM 31s and 32s, we are also able to automatically detect rolled stops. And I'll show you a quick example of that. This is one of our reference customers who has given us permission to use this video. And you'll notice that in this case, he's not slamming on the brakes, he's not accelerating or turning really hard, but our camera is actually able to read that stop sign right there and notice that he did not drop down to a complete stop. So there is the picture of the stop sign, and you'll see here there's a rolling stop event label, and you can actually see, since I'm in super user mode, it says automated. So that is an automatic detection capability of our new cameras. In addition to those automatic labels, we can also automatically add a distracted driving label after the fact. So if there is a harsh turn, we essentially process that video and then determine whether or not the driver was distracted. So every once in a while, you might see distracted as an automated label. Now that's something that we're actively working on improving to be able to detect distracted driving even without a harsh event. But right now you'll see that in conjunction with harsh driving. Great. So after you've added your labels, you can also use the incident graph to really help you make that decision. One of the harsh event labels that our customers really like is late response, because drivers really need to be paying attention and reacting to road conditions within 1.8 seconds according to the Smith system. So how can you determine that? You can actually use the incident graph here and see the speed changes that the driver is making on a per second basis. So use the incident graph, can help determine whether or not there's late response or speeding. Once you're done tagging the video with harsh event labels, you can assign a safety manager. So this is a new feature that launched a couple months ago, and this is going to help for especially large organizations. If you have a lot of people reviewing videos and you want to sort of dole out the work across many people, you can go ahead and assign a safety manager. So I'll go ahead and assign myself. And next, you would then determine whether this event needs coaching, or if your review is sufficient and you want to just mark it as reviewed. The difference between these statuses, I'd love to just dig into that so you all can understand a little better what we mean by this. Needs coaching is really going to mean this was a severe enough event that you want to have a sit-down conversation with the driver. This is probably going to be if there's any of those driver risk behaviors, such as no seatbelt or late response. Usually something as severe as that is going to warrant a conversation. If instead it's a minor driving infraction that does not warrant a sit-down conversation, you can go ahead and mark it as reviewed. This video will still be stored in Samsara, but it will not stay in the top level of the inbox. So you're kind of going to move it away and just confirm that you have reviewed it. That will still impact the driver safety score. Dismissed, on the other hand, is for cases where you don't want it to impact the driver safety score. So maybe this is a false positive, or in your mind it's not severe enough, or maybe it's defensive driving and the driver was not at fault. In those cases, you can go ahead and dismiss the event. In this case, I'll mark it as needs coaching. When I go back to the inbox, you can now see the additional harsh event label types are listed here. The status is now in needs coaching, and my name is on there as the safety manager. So this is how you can start making your safety inbox work a little bit better for you. In terms of the other tabs, you'll notice that there's a resolved folder now. This is going to store all past events that have been coached or reviewed. So when you mark an event as reviewed, it's just going to be moved over to the resolved folder. Dismissed is a folder for those events that are not really harsh driving events or the driver was not at fault. So that's also going to be stored here for your record keeping so that none of that data is lost. And then lastly, we have a starred folder. This allows you to star events across all 3 folders, any that you want to refer to in the future. A lot of our customers use this for starring events that they want to include in training sessions, for example. Great. So now when you mark the events as needs coaching, the other thing that that does is that's going to start queuing up these events for the coaching tab. You may have noticed, and hopefully you're all here because you want to learn about our coaching tab, but essentially in order to get events to populate on the coaching tab, you do need to mark those into the needs coaching status. So I'll go ahead and switch over to the coaching page. I'm going to switch over to another reference customer just so we can see what theirs looks like since they have a lot more drivers. So you'll notice that there's a safety inbox as a tab, the safety report, where if you want to come see your fleet information at a glance, you can see your safety score and your safety trends. And now we have a coaching tab, which is underneath the safety report. The coaching tab is going to show a list of all your drivers, and it's going to include a column of events to coach. Events to coach is going to count up the events that are in the needs coaching status. If a driver has an event that is up for review or that has been reviewed, that's actually not going to be counted in this column. So this is kind of like a to-do list of a coach now. These are the drivers that need coaching right now. And then the last thing you'll notice is the safety score so that you can get a little bit of context of what this driver's past history has been. So if I go ahead and click into this driver, Patrick, I'm brought to the driver's safety score where I can see his personalized safety trends graph, and I can also see all of the events from this driver, including events with other statuses. But when I'm ready to have that sit-down conversation with Patrick, I'm going to go ahead and click this button that says Coach Driver. When I click that, that's going to open up our coaching modal. You'll notice that the harsh event labels that were added from the inbox are shown above the video so that you know what you're coaching on. And then below the video, we've actually provided talking points to ensure consistent coaching across all your safety managers and to ensure that drivers are getting the same message. These coaching scripts were formulated using learnings from the Smith System training guide and are really industry standard talking points to get safe driving behaviors across to your driver. You can also add comments. So what we've been seeing a lot of our customers do who are implementing successful coaching programs is writing comments about their conversation with the driver, what was discussed and what the action plan is going forward. And then when you're done, you would mark this event as coached. When you click Mark as Coached, that is going to change the status of this event from needs coaching to coached. It's going to store this event in that resolved folder that I showed you in the inbox, and it's going to move this out of the coaching queue and essentially consider this done. Since this driver had 3 events, after I would mark that as coached, I would just click this little arrow up here, and that's going to bring me to event 2 of 3. Event 2 of 3 is then shown. Again, I can see the harsh event label, I can rewatch the video, see the instant graph, use the coaching scripts to talk to the driver, and then add those coaching comments if I would like to. You can mark as coached and then go on to the 3rd event. So the idea here is really to queue up all of your events for one driver to enable that sit-down conversation in a much more streamlined way, and then save all this data and the record of the coaching taking place on the Samsara dashboard. Once coaching is complete and you've gone through the 3 events, you would just click Complete Coaching, and that's going to bring you back to the driver safety score. Click it back out, and you're back on the coaching page. Great, and yeah, I think that was.
Yeah, one of the questions we had come in that I think you can show on the dashboard is whether or not there are different admin privileges. So I know with a lot of fleets that we work with, you might have someone who is just a coach or just a safety manager or just a mechanic, and they might want to have different roles or responsibilities. Maybe you want some folks to be able to view videos, some to be able to download videos. Can you talk about how that would work in the dashboard?
Definitely. Yes, we know that privacy is really important, and therefore we have built some amazing custom roles and permissions that you can set up to really customize what people are seeing. So in your settings, which is currently being rearranged to the top right of your Samsara dashboard, you can go to the roles, user roles and permissions section, and set up a new role. So there's a little button here in the top right that says add role. And here you can name your role as anything you want. So maybe I'm going to be a safety manager. And I'm going to essentially limit the information that this person is able to access. So you'll notice we have an essentials section, which is pretty basic, and most people are going to need access to that. But now we have this very robust safety section where you can really slice and dice what exactly you want people to have access to. You can define the safety report and inbox if they should have view or edit access. Now, edit access is going to include things like adding those harsh event labels onto the event, adding safety managers, and adding comments. So a safety manager probably should have edit access. You can determine whether or not they should be able to download video. Maybe you only want several administrators to be able to download video, and you don't want, your 10 safety managers to be able to. So that's one that's really your judgment call. We have a dash cam installation permission, which is mostly for very large customers who have a third party installing their dash cameras, and they only want those installers to be able to do one small thing to double check the installation. That's usually the use case for this one. And then we have the coaching permissions. So if you're a safety manager, you probably are going to need to view the coaching page and coach the drivers. And then lastly, we have a video retrieval section. So if you, again, maybe want to limit the ability for people to retrieve video, you can limit that there. So then after you make your safety manager role, you can go ahead and save it. I think I'm saving this same name several times. And now it's going to show up in your role list, and you can easily assign people to that role from the admin section. You just go ahead into the name of whoever you want to make a safety manager, and you would just click down to that new role that you just created, and that's how you would save them.
That's fantastic. So you can essentially customize roles depending on how your business operates.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited about how granular these permissions are, so you can really set it up to your liking.
Great. Another question that came in that I think would be helpful to demo is around remote coaching. So a lot of folks we work with, again, they might have a safety manager based in headquarters, but the driver is constantly on the road. Is there a way right now where we can easily share a video with drivers?
That's a great question. So currently, the best workaround is actually to download the video and email it to the driver, or send the link of the actual video. And yeah, I can go ahead and show you what that would look like. Excuse me here. So this was the one that we were annotating before. If I want to download this, there's a little button right here that says download, and that's going to download this footage. I can also download the driver facing video as well. Another thing that you can do for people who do have permission to view this page, I can go ahead and copy this URL and actually email that directly to another safety manager or someone in my organization. One thing we're working on, we do know that people want to share these more easily, and so we are working and exploring ways to make that sharing ability easier. So more to come on that.
Fantastic. I think those are the questions that are worth demoing. We can switch over. Now's a great time if you haven't submitted your questions yet. We are actively monitoring them, so definitely send them our way, and let's see what type of questions we've had. All right. So this is a question we get a lot. Margaret, maybe you can help give us a clue on it. Is there a way to add more event types? So you showed us that long list. There's about, I think, 15 you can add right now. Mm-hmm. Any others that you can add yourself or on the roadmap?
Yeah, great question. So we are wanting to essentially make labels for any common event that our customers want to track. So I would say right now the best course of action would be to provide feedback. You'll notice on our dashboard we have a little feedback button, and essentially we would love to hear your ideas for what other labels you want, because if you want it, probably other customers of ours would like it as well. So we really want to get that feedback and are always going to be exploring adding additional labels. If there was something really customized that would just apply to you, for example, that's also something we've thought about, is should we allow configurable harsh event labels. There's currently not a way to do that, but if you just keep providing the feedback for what exactly the label type you want, we will evaluate and see if we should add it.
Great. Another question here, someone is asking, they don't use the ELD features of Samsara, so I'm assuming they're not using the driver app for driver assignment. So with the cameras, is there a way that they can assign drivers to an event? Which is a great question, because obviously at the root of driver safety is knowing who the driver is. So you don't just want to know which vehicle you're coaching, because obviously people can switch in and out of vehicles. You really want to know that specific driver. So question on driver assignment.
Great question. We know this is a huge pain point among our customers for people who are not using ELD, and maybe some who aren't even using static vehicle assignment at all. Currently, we do not have a solution for this, but my team is working on this right now, a manual driver assignment option so that you can assign a driver after a harsh event, even if they are not signed into the vehicle. So this is something we're actively working on and prioritizing. And what I would recommend as a workaround, if you have inward-facing cameras, is to utilize our facial recognition, which is a beta feature. And that essentially, the camera can start detecting faces and allow you to assign names to face IDs. And this will help you reduce the number of unassigned harsh events, and also be an easy way, since the camera will recognize the driver every time and be able to just assign them automatically.
Great. A quick question here is about our data retention. So how long will Samsara hold videos in the safety inbox and in the dashboard overall?
Great question. So currently our dashboard is set up to save all customer data for the duration of your contract with Samsara. So we are saving this essentially indefinitely in order to provide you with that data at any point that you may need it in the course of your relationship with Samsara.
Great. One about voice coaching. We actually didn't mention this really in the live demo, but Samsara, with our dash cams, we also offer some in-cab coaching where you can toggle our voice coaching on or off, and it'll give some alerts to the driver in real time. So can you talk a little bit about that? The question is really just, what is that toggle?
Yeah, great question. So in the settings under safety, there is a toggle for voice coaching. Voice coaching is essentially a verbal voice that comes through on the driver's end of the camera if a harsh event is detected or if speeding is detected. And this essentially says harsh event detected, speeding detected. So it's a very straightforward comment, and I could play an example if we want.
Yeah.
One second here. Okay, great. So in this example,
harsh event detected.
So that's an example of a harsh event detected voice coaching. And essentially this is meant to alert the driver that something has occurred, they should correct their driving. And it also gives them a heads up that this might be something they're called in to talk to the safety manager about. So we've seen that customers who use this, they have a much higher rate of drivers coming in and saying, I know what we're going to talk about, and let me tell you about why that happened. So it is a good way. Going forward, we want to make voice coaching much more robust. So this is something that's going to continue to evolve and improve as we go forward.
That's great. And maybe a tag-along question, how I noticed in this footage, you're actually able to hear what's happening in the cab. Can you talk a little bit about that feature? That's another one that you can toggle on or off in the dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. That is audio capture, essentially. So if you want to capture audio with your harsh events, that's essentially going to help you understand a little bit more context of what was going on in the cab, you can turn on audio recording. Let me just show you where this all is, just in case you haven't explored our safety settings. Again, it's going to be under settings, and it's going to be under safety. And you'll notice there's a voice coaching option, which is going to enable that harsh event voice coaching and speeding. And for select models, it will actually also alert on unbuckled seatbelts. If you decide to turn this on, you'll have to enter a speed threshold, with which is kind of the set limit for when voice coaching will occur. The second setting we have on here is the audio recording. So if you want to get that context into what's going on in the cab during a harsh event, you can turn this on, and your harsh event videos will be accompanied with audio.
Great. And for that harsh event audio, is that tied to specific vehicles? We have a question coming in on that, or does it work for anyone?
It works for everyone. So it does not it's not based on the vehicle type.
Yeah. And I can confirm that's all tied to our accelerometer. So regardless of which vehicle type you have, it'll work. You can always control the threshold of what will trigger a harsh event. So if maybe in your vehicle you're not getting as many harsh events as you were expecting, you can always work to adjust that, and you can always reach out to our support for help on that.
Great.
One more question about the cloud storage. So you mentioned the videos are going to be stored in the cloud forever. We also throw around this number about 40 hours. So someone's saying, I was told that video was only kept for 40 hours. Can you explain the difference there?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So the distinction is, if a harsh event is generated and uploaded to the cloud, so that's going to be those 20-second clips of a harsh driving event. Those are stored on the Samsara dashboard and in the cloud forever, essentially, right? For the duration of your time with Samsara. The 40 hours is really going to come in for non-harsh event drive time. So if you're just driving steadily down the road and no harsh events are being uploaded, that is going to, like, we're not going to just save video of somebody driving normally down the road for more than 40 hours. So essentially what happens is that's the SD card storage capacity is 40 hours, and it's going to essentially rewrite itself every 40 hours. But in that time, if there's a harsh event, that is uploaded and saved forever. So the 40 hours really comes into play when you're thinking about video retrieval and, you know, how far back can you pull footage. That is the 40-hour limit.
Awesome. And I do see we have some super users on the line. So someone has responded, but I have 50 hours of storage. So that will have to do with your video quality. So if you would like to extend the storage you have locally on your camera, you can toggle that, again, working with our support team, and extend the storage. You will then lose some of the HD quality. So it'll be a little grainier, a little more like what I like to call standard definition television. You won't have that HD clear, crisp video, but if the length of the storage is important to you, that's definitely an option.
And also I saw someone just asked about the storage for video retrieval. If you do retrieve a video and have it therefore in the video retrieval tab on Samsara, that is also going to stay on the dashboard indefinitely. So if you do request that minute of footage, even without a harsh event, we will store that on the dashboard.
Yeah. At the end of the day, our goal is to make sure you have all the important footage stored in the dashboard. But then we also don't want to bombard you with some of that boring footage of just, like Margaret said, driving down the road, everything's going fine. But if there's ever a harsh event, if there's ever a time where you've retrieved a video, if there's ever a time where you've watched that video, we're going to save it indefinitely.
I've also been seeing a couple questions come through about defensive driving, and I would love to touch on that for a minute. So to answer the question, I saw somebody asked, could we add a tag or a identification for positive driving behavior? So we actually do have a tab here under Other, a label for defensive driving that you can use to annotate your videos with. What we have noticed is our customers will add defensive driving, and even though this event has a harsh turn, they don't want this to negatively impact the driver's safety score. So currently, the way our system is set up is it will affect the driver safety score if you keep this harsh turn label. But if you just want to remove the harsh event label and keep it as defensive driving only, that's going to remove this from that driver safety score and enable you to save this video as a defensive driving example. So what you can do is take away the harsh driving, add the defensive driving label, and then mark it as reviewed. Now, essentially what's going to happen is this is going to stay in your reviewed or your resolved folder as a defensive driving example, but that's not going to be affecting that driver safety score since there's not a harsh driving event associated with it.
Great. That's helpful. I know something we talk about a lot is that driver coaching and improving driver behavior is so tied to celebrating the things that a driver is doing well. It's really not just about punishment. In fact, it's more about encouraging people to keep up their good behaviors and the things that they're doing well. We know there's so many obstacles on the road, so many things that are hard to avoid. So when a driver does a move like that well, we definitely want to give them credit.
Exactly. And another thing, if you want to talk to the driver about this, you could even put this into needs coaching. That's going to queue it up as part of the coaching queue, but it won't be affecting their safety score. So that's another way you can kind of incorporate the positive examples into your coaching experience.
Great. Another question here about driver gamification. So we showed a little bit of our driver safety scores. Maybe while you have the demo up, you can show more of them. How does that work? What is it?
The driver gamification specifically. So this is going to be for customers who are using the driver app primarily. Essentially turning this on is going to enable other drivers to see the safety score of their teammates. So you can essentially turn it on and all your drivers are going to see a ranking of their safety score in comparison with their fellow drivers. And this really helps generate a sense of healthy competition. A lot of our customers use this in conjunction with a incentive program for monthly, safest driver. You can turn this on and that really helps people see where they fall in the ranking throughout that month and kind of, have something to aim for.
Great. And maybe could you show an example of a driver safety score back in the safety report?
Yeah, definitely. So let's see, unfortunately on this demo, a lot of them are hundreds. Let me find someone who's not a perfect driver. So the driver safety score is going to be calculated by harsh events. So 50% of the score is calculated by the number of harsh events normalized over 1,000 miles so that you can more accurately compare drivers who have driven different distances. And the other 50% is time over the speed limit. And that's essentially how we calculate it today. So 50% harsh events, 50% speeding. We know that a lot of our customers have requests for different ways to score, and we are always looking for improvements here. So this is something we're also thinking about how we can tweak. So feel free to leave feedback on this. But for right now, we do normalize it for time driven and distance driven, so it is comparable across drivers.
That's great. A lot of questions we get are around, you have one driver who drives just a few hours a week. You have another who drives maybe 40 hours a week. Are they apples to apples? So we are normalizing that so that you can compare fairly. And we do have a lot of fun anecdotes of customers who have turned on driver gamification and suddenly you have 50% reduction in harsh braking events because the drivers start to realize that if they just are a little smoother on the road, then they can beat out their buddy and go from number 3 to number 1 or number 50 to number 2, whatever it may be.
One other, I was just going to mention, I've been seeing a couple questions come in about alerts and essentially how you can get notified about different harsh driving events. And so just wanted to clarify that that's going to be stored under our alerts section. There's a place where you can go to configure and you'll be able to see a couple. You can get a speeding alert if you want to be notified when your drivers are speeding. And then we also have harsh events. And so you can customize which harsh events you want to be alerted on. The harsh driving, which is always been there, but now we've also added rolling stops. So if you want to get notified about those rolling stops, that's now an option. And you can customize these to apply to certain vehicles or specific tags and update exactly who's going to be this is going to be sent to.
And while you're in here, we did have a question come in about rolling stops. So if someone has one of our older dash cams, maybe the CM12 or 22, will they be able to access rolling stops?
So it's not going to be automatically detected with the older versions of the cameras, but you can still use the label. If you happen to notice it, you can definitely manually add that label. But unfortunately, that AI functionality is only in our CM31s and 32s.
Okay, let's see what questions we have here. I think we just covered this one about if you're receiving a text or email about a harsh event, can you add the type of event to the notification? Any comments on that?
That is something that I think we are working on. We have a team who is trying to make the alerts a little bit more usable and including some basic information so you have a little bit more context before you click on the link. So stay tuned on that. We're definitely working on improving that. I also see a question about exporting data on coaching. Just wanted to make a quick plug for a new feature that we will be launching very soon here. And essentially that's going to be a scheduled report for coaching. And that is something that if you use scheduled reports for other features, you'll know that it's under settings, under scheduled reports. You can go here and add a scheduled report. You'll be able to see very shortly once we launch this, a driver coaching report and a safety manager coaching report. And that's going to enable you to set up daily or weekly emails with your coaching data. So there's currently not an easy way to export it to Excel, but I think that the email would be very helpful because you're essentially getting a data table of your list of drivers and the events they need to be coached on. And same with the safety manager view.
Perfect. So we are just about at the 45-minute mark here. I want to be sensitive to people's time. And so we will start to wrap up the Q&A here. I do want to say if you have questions that we didn't get to, we have the full list here, so we're monitoring them. We'll try to email you back as soon as possible. Also, if you have questions that come up that you didn't get a chance to ask, always check out our knowledge base. We're adding new information to it basically on a daily basis at this point. You can get to that within your dashboard or on the Samsara website. And then of course, a quick shout out to our amazing customer support team. They work 24/7, 365 days a year. They're based in the US. You can always chat with them live. You can email them. They have amazing response rates. And then of course, call them up. They tend to answer, I think lately within a minute, if not minutes, but they're always there to support you. Last but not least, just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you for being a partner with Samsara. We really enjoyed hearing all of your questions and sharing these new features with you. I hope, like I said earlier, we gave you some new tips and tricks that you can play around with in your dashboard. Hopefully you're feeling excited to go check out driver coaching. If you have a great experience, let us know. And if you have feedback, definitely let us know. You can always click the feedback button in the dashboard. Now you know Margaret and I's names. You can probably find us pretty easily one-on-one. So we can't wait to hear from you. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.